Welcome back to the Opposition podcast, and unfortunately, I have no idea what episode it is because Rukshan doesn't know. Rukshan, can we take a guess?
I have no idea, but it's either 29 or 30.
What are you putting your bets on? I'm going to look it up.
Look it up. I feel like it's 30.
You feel like it's 30? Is that where you're putting your money?
Where I'm putting my rupees, yes.
That's where you're putting your rupees? It is number 29. What did you say? You said, I can't believe you went with that.
Is it 30?
It is 29, mate. Welcome back to the Opposition podcast number 29. Rukshan has so much fun here. He just slips an extra one in there. Mate, how have you been?
I've been pretty good, yeah. Pretty good. Chilling out here, catching up with all the news and getting ready for the holiday season that's coming. So,
what are you doing for the holiday season?
Not sure. Probably just reading more news.
You're such a loser. We were talking about New Year's Eve. We were like discussing what we're going to do because we're going to hang out. And we were like, it was in the group with, so my wife and your wife. And your suggestion was what?
My suggestion was to do a New Year special live stream.
My suggestion was...
Do you want us to do that?
I think we should get drunk on live stream New Year's Eve.
Exactly.
And then people could see how bad of a drinker you are. And when I say bad, like you just suck at it. You don't really drink.
I'm not really a drinker, no.
I'm a professional. Speaking of which, did Benji visit you today?
Benji, Santa Claus Benji has not yet visited me. Did he visit you, did he? Wow.
I told him I'll open it live on air.
You know,
he didn't get one of these.
People that I know that will come to a house, like a friend, like a individual like that, not family, that would come to a house and drop off a present.
I wasn't even here.
You weren't even here. And have you got him something? That's the important question. He's probably watching this right now. Have you got Benji a present?
The good thing is he gave it to me a few days early, so I can see the value of it and then invest in my counter present. Should we open it now or should we save it to the end?
Value of the present, and you exact same value for your purchase, or a little bit less or more?
A little bit less. I'm what you called a orthodox Jew when it comes to these kind of calculations. Nah, we'll open it later on in the end. We have an exciting show tonight. And tonight, actually, you finally did something because you actually sent me most of the stuff for tonight because I was actually busy working.
Yes.
We have an exciting guest, which, you know what? I've been following his stuff for a long while. I'll bring him straight in so he can tell us a bit about who he is and what he does. I'm a big fan. In fact, I think he does a lot better job than you. Nathan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Harvey. I do, in some way, I have thought of Rukshan as like a rival in some ways.
Don't worry about it. He's not on your level.
I would like to mention, Nathan, just to be mindful of my skin color and to know that regardless of your talent, the diversity that I have ingrained within me trumps everything in the rest of the world. So it's very important to remember
that. He automatically starts 3 levels up.
Yeah. I'm automatically up here. Exactly.
But the good thing for you, Nathan, is you're about 10 levels better than him. So
that's true.
So tell people.
I should acknowledge my privilege. And are we going to do a welcome to country?
Yeah, we usually do it off air before. Can we for people who don't know who you are you? What do you do? And where can they find your work?
Yeah, I go by MilkBarTV on Twitter. That's mainly where I am. And that account started during COVID. I was living in Melbourne at the time, same with you guys. And I lost my job because of vaccine mandates. And I'd been a filmmaker. I've been making like horror films. And I was never particularly political. But it was, after everything we saw that went down in COVID in Australia and then me losing my job because of vaccine mandates, I thought, all right, well, maybe I'll put these skills that I have to use, and started making kind of satirical videos and just kind of just looking at what was going on around Australia. And then they kind of just caught fire, and I've been making videos ever since. And I was a forklift driver. That was the job I lost. And I mean, the videos did so well that I've managed to quit doing that, and I've been making videos full time for a bit over a year now.
Well, you've had some zingers. Let's just look at your pin post, for example, because I think this one was such an important one. You've done a bunch of really good ones, like you said, in COVID, and you put a lot of effort into it. And I've been in this space for a while. I see when people are late, like Rukshan, for example, lazy content, rubbish. But there are people.
Rukshan actually leaves the house. So he does have that.
I leave the house, and I actually to just to kind of credit myself a little bit. I used to actually do videos like this as well. At some point.
Yeah, you did.
I did become a bit more lazier after a while, because it's actually a lot of hard work and a lot of research and time and effort goes into it, right, Nathan? So the effort and the amount of work that you put into it, I think a lot of people might not realize when they start, obviously sharing this clip online, maybe even stealing this clip and sharing it as their own, as a lot of people.
But also, like like social media is brutal, and the amount of work you put into it doesn't necessarily equal how many views or how viral things get. So there's nothing worse than you put like days into a video and it's just an absolute stinker. You're just like, why do I bother?
Yeah,
but this video wasn't that, and actually got shared around. I think it had about 6 million, 7 million views.
Yeah, but it's not even that. And it went to, didn't it go, correct me if I'm wrong, it went to, was it the Senate?
They had the House Oversight
Reps?
Committee,
Oversight
where they did a look into the actual assassination attempt, and so they pulled in the Secret Service director before she was fired, and so that this was included.
So we don't need to hear the sound. Tell us what are we seeing here? What it is that you actually did, and why it was so important.
Yeah, so you can see this is the day after the assassination attempt on Trump when he was shot. And the day after, all this footage started pouring in on X from that day. All these little bits, different shots, they all started appearing. So I had that in my mind. It'd be interesting to pull that together. But then someone actually dropped the footage there that you can see on the left, where people are filming and identifying the shooter, Crooks, on the roof. And I noticed underneath that you can hear Trump's speech. So I thought that would be really interesting to line that up with Trump actually giving the speech, and to see how early is that before he actually takes the shot. Because in that video with Crooks on the roof, you can hear them actually starting to warn the authorities and say, look, he's up there, and you can hear the police interacting with them. So I thought that's interesting. Like, how long did they actually have where the police and the Secret Service were aware of him on the roof before he was able then to take the shot? And it turned out to be about 2 minutes, which is a stand. I think that's the power of social media, is that you can watch this video and you can see it in real time, how long that is.
Yeah, so you ran basically the time. What do you edit in, by the way? What do you use? What program?
I use DaVinci. It's free program. It's everything you need, But I mean, it was amazing to me. There's a few moments. I mean, you guys would probably have it as well. These moments where you see something before anyone else, And so is that where I line that up? I pull my wife in. I'm like, just look at this. Look how much time they have. Yeah. What are they doing? They don't appear to be
still going. Like people have. It started already when it started with people pointing him out.
I think that was the main thing that this video illustrated at the time. And I think that's why it really went viral, because I think a lot of people were shocked just how long it took the authorities there to actually act on this after people had pointed out the shooter, right? So just to kind of show that in this format, it shows you, like you said, how powerful these kind of videos can be. And this is traditionally the work of the media. This is what they'd kind of put together. But there was a lack of interest by the media during that time to actually piece this together, even from within the the intelligence agencies and stuff. Like, this is the kind of stuff they should be putting out. Like, this is the timeline, this is the time frame, this is what happened. But really, it took a guy all the way across the seas in Australia to put this together, and that's the video that kind of caught on and told this story in this manner that ended up actually being a piece of, I guess, in a way, evidence that they used during the questioning of that Secret Service individual that they questioned. So I find that really fascinating, how it's evolved that way, where news kind of happens somewhere else, but even in Australia, we're contributing to that through people like yourself making this type of content. It's very, I think, important work that's being done.
Yeah, and I think that's this video does really show the power of social media, and I think it shows the benefits of it. In that, all I'm doing is pulling together all of this footage that other people have shot, and then they've uploaded, and then other people have shared. So that's an incredible resource to be able to kind of put that all together, based on like all the hands that it takes for it to kind of get there online, and then for me to be able to spend the time to actually put it together. It shows that like why social media is so powerful. And also it's the other thing, like I said, TV, you can't show like a 4-minute video. People, they've got to cut to break. They know people have got short attention spans, and they can say, look, there was 2 minutes from when they spot the guy to when he took the shot. But saying there was 2 minutes and actually sitting there and painfully watching what that actually looks like are two very different things.
No, definitely.
I also I think this is maybe my favorite video that I've done, because it's nonpartisan, because it's just objective. And I feel like so many videos and so many things today fall into, are they left? Are they right? There's a political agenda behind this. Whereas I enjoyed making this and seeing it go viral and seeing it shared by both sides, because it's just factual.
Yeah, this is actually a great comment from Gail, who said you'd think that journalists would be jumping right onto it. But like you said, like we were discussing before, there seems to be a lack of interest from the media class when it comes to this type of content, which is baffling. They spend a lot of time talking. They bring on experts. They just don't do the very basic things of, it's a very simple video, a simple way to illustrate some of these points. And I guess this comes to some of the topics that we'll be talking about today around the social media and the importance of having access to this information and this type of content, and the ways in which this type of content are trying to be minimized by authorities and be controlled. So a lot, yourself, Avi, me, we all exist in this space where we're kind of in independent journalism media space. Avi, of course, works for a company, but with that comes a lot of especially in Australia, attempts by people like we're going to talk about the Karen, our e-safety officer, and our government to limit our ability to kind of disseminate information without them getting their hands on it first, and limiting the reach of that information. So one of the stories that you've been talking about today, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here, Avi, if you've got that loaded up, but
well, I find it funny that you're trying to put yourself on the level of me and Nathan.
I'm
Which
already
story,
like
which story you jump into? Is it one of the ones you sent me?
We can talk about the under 16 ban. We can talk about the misinformation bill that was defeated. We've discussed it at length over the last couple of episodes.
You wanted to watch.
We had some new comments. Yeah, we had some new comments from the e-safety commissioner, which Nathan shared.
Okay, I'll pull that up now.
Yeah, let's watch a couple of these videos. Not this one. I think we'll go to the There was yeah. Let's watch this, because this just shows you
on under 16s for social media. I guess it's kind of an elephant in the room. Would love to address it if you're willing. What are your thoughts about it?
It's not really a social media ban. I look at it as a social media restriction bill, and because everything is so vague, the power or the task will be given to me, and working with my minister to figure out how this works. So my commitment to the industry and the mental health advocates and the youth and the academics is that consultation is going to be our first plan of action. We spent 2 years working on an age verification roadmap, where we recommended in March 2023 that we do an age verification trial first, and once we have that data, then we move to mandates. That wasn't accepted. There was a lot of pushback from the child protection sector. So the same week that the bill was passed, the age verification trial started. So in some ways, we've got 12 months to build the plane as we fly it. But we'll stay close. And I think the technology has evolved immensely, as has the ecosystem. And I think the interesting feature of the social media age restriction bill is it has a specific role for the privacy commissioner. And then there have been amendments that stipulate that digital ID or government ID can't be the sole form of verification of the child, but then, after ID, you've got biometrics and some behavioral signals. That's really going to be the challenge, is getting that right. And in some ways, it's totally appropriate, because we need to balance those three legs of the stool of security, safety, and privacy, or we'll create other systemic weaknesses.
Nathan, you want to tell us a little about, for anyone that doesn't know, who is that lady that's speaking? And, it's someone you've covered at length. So just give us a bit of background on who that is.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how much in depth I want to go. So Julia McGrant, she's an American, as you can hear. She's a dual citizen, and she started in politics in the early 90s, working for a congressman in Boston. And then she got involved with Microsoft and worked with Microsoft for 17 years. She talks about, on her second day working at Microsoft, she introduced Bill Gates to Bill Clinton in the White House. And she went from Microsoft, where then she worked at Twitter for 2 years, and she did a lot around putting in these new programs to do with safety and regulating what people can say. And then after that, she became the Australia's e-safety commissioner, and that office was started in 2015, and it was started pretty much just to keep children safe online, to try and tackle childhood bullying. And over the past 10 years, it's just grown, and the powers have become more and more. And I think for a lot of us, we only became aware of her this past year, after there was the global takedown of the footage of the bishop being stabbed, and also Billboard Chris, someone who's a activist who pushes back against the transitioning of kids, and the use of puberty blockers. And he did a post questioning a trans activist being put in an advisory role for the WHO, and that post was taken down. So she's also got a track record of being a activist, yeah, I think she's become maybe one of the most notable bureaucrats in Australia, because her power has just grown and grown and grown.
Mm. And, in this instance, I think what's important in that video, if anyone was paying attention, was the fact that we have this under 16 bill that's been passed, and she's talking about the vagueness of it, as in, like, they don't even know, like, it's almost like she has the power to decide how it's going to be implemented. Is that your reading of what she's saying? Like, she will decide ultimately how this is going to be played out, not really the legislation or whatever that was passed. She will actually decide the framework and how things will work. Like, it's kind of up to her. It's up in the air. She's saying she'll, build the airplane as it's flying.
Yeah, the e-safety office is actually a branch that branches off from ACMA. So they're part of the Australian Communications Office, but they also work as an independent regulator. But yeah, I mean, that bill was passed so quickly, and the under 16 social media ban. And she speaks about this. I cut this down a little bit just to kind of get to those interesting parts about her talking about how it will be enforced, and and her having that power. But I think it's important to note that she actually, I don't think she was in favor of the bill. I don't think she's actually, I found clips of her in the past talking about that she is actually actively against bans for kids online. She talks about the many benefits for kids using social media, especially kids who have trouble socializing, and these kids who kind of depend on it, and they find their kind of communities, and find a lot of strength and resolve in themselves through using social media. She talks often as the internet in this very lofty, poetic metaphor that the internet is like the ocean. And so her approach to it is like kids on the internet are like kids going into the ocean, where there's all this safeguarding. You've got the parents that should be watching the kids, but you should also have the flags, and then you also should have like the lifeguards, and that the RIPs are like algorithms. I mean, it's really elaborate. So I think that's where she even talks about it in that little clip where she was actually proposing this age verification, and they said, no, we want you to rush it. We want you to move faster. So I thought that was one of the most important things about actually combating this under 16 social media ban, is that the actual office that was established in Australia to keep kids safe online was actually actively against this social media ban. She never could directly come out and say that, but everything you saw her, whenever she commented or addressed it, she never threw, her whole support saying, yes, this research backs us. This is the way to do it. So now she's been given this legislation that was a rush through. And so it's so vague, as she says. Now it's up to her to determine how she actually...
But I can see she's molding it to something that she does want. She does want to have everyone registered to use the internet, so she has the power to turn on and off and to create that kind of social credit score online. She wants that. She just thinks that kids should be allowed free reign on the internet. The thing is, I actually don't think kids should be on social media. As a parent that has 14, look, I just don't think social media is... I just don't want Karen or any other bureaucrat to be the one to decide. I don't want any government official, elected or not elected, like her. I just don't think that it's the government's position, mostly because I don't believe whatever especially because she doesn't believe in the actual ban. She thinks kids should be doing TikTok dances because they don't get to socialize at school. Like the fact that she's against it for all the wrong reasons, because of the kind of person she is. Like, she thinks that it is good for kids to socialize online, which no, if kids are struggling to socialize in real life, well, you got a problem there. Work on the problem. Don't give a band-aid solution of the internet, because the internet's not real life. You don't want people to live their life through the internet. And for kids especially, there's a whole raft of issues that comes with online, and any parent of kids will see that. But the government is the last person who should be in charge of that, especially not her. And the thing that she's doing now is she's saying, all right, I'm against the idea, but how do I make lemonades out of lemons? I was given something I don't really want. What do I really want? I want a digital ID. Oh, well, she said that they put in, because I think the opposition, shamefully, all they worked for was an amendment so that it meant that digital ID, and she said the wording, I haven't actually read the amendment, to be fair. I want to read it, but the way she framed it in your clip there was that it cannot be the sole thing of verification. Hold on, is that what it really says? It can't be the sole, or it cannot be used at all? And if it can't be the sole, then it's a bit ridiculous and redundant. But I think the opposition kind of fumbled it hard, and I believe it's just because Peter Dutton, one, is coming at from a copper's perspective. He's a cop, through and through. And I think also an age thing. He just doesn't really understand the internet properly. And thirdly, I don't think he realizes that the more power you give this lot, like Karen is their baby. Karen is the Liberal Party's baby. And the more power you give them, the less chances you have of ever getting elected. At least you're coming from... You're coming from a back foot, because everything is designed against you. It's all propping up woke leftist ideas. So you might win an election, but they were silencing your side. They were silencing people that were likely to promote you. And why would you do that?
I mean, you're absolutely right. Dutton came out after the whole Bishop stabbing thing.
Yeah.
And Elon Musk was posting about her. So she did this whole campaign of victimhood. And Dutton came out saying that she was one of Australia's greatest bureaucrats. Now this was after it was revealed that she came out last year and said that the Voice referendum would have a horrific impact on Aboriginal people, and that we would see these huge spikes of complaints from Indigenous people saying that they had been bullied and vilified. And that was all because of the Voice to Referendum campaign. She was actively putting her finger on the thumb against the no vote, against Dutton.
Yeah.
And there's been no accountability for that. It turned out that I think there was something like two extra complaints. It was something completely not much. She got it completely wrong. But
I
she
think it
came
hurt
out
the inner city soy latte sipping loony lefties. I think they copped more real vilification after the
sure.
the no vote than Aboriginal people. I don't think. Yeah, and you know what's funny? We see her every single year at the World Economic Forum.
Well, the World Economic Forum, Avi, that's true, but she always seems to be at some type of conference or giving a speech somewhere. She always she seems to be traveling. Like she must
I know.
have a great.
She's
great
like the last one on my list.
Yeah, I mean, you should. You try and catch up with her next time. But yeah, I mean, every week I'll check YouTube to see what conference she's been at. I literally checked this week because I was just away on holidays. I went to Bali for a week. And I came back, and there was these two conferences, these random like tech things that she's on Australia's dime. She's traveling and
Do you think there's any irony in the fact that she's actually an American who has the backup of always being able to move back and have the protection of the First Amendment? So she has an enshrined right to freedom of speech whenever if she ever had to leave, but she wants to implement laws here where I'm a dual citizen, so fine, I can go back to Israel and I can live under whatever free speech laws they have there, which are certainly much higher than here in most situations, or what she proposes. But she can always go back to America with her dual citizenship, enjoy her freedom, her protected freedom of speech. But here in Australia, she wants to take it away from the 30 million or so Aussies.
I mean, I genuinely think, it's been in the news a lot with Pauline Hanson asking about citizenship with Payman, and I don't think it should be any different with someone like Julian Grant. When you have the power to police the internet and determine what is acceptable and what's not for Australians to say online, I think you should be an Australian. I don't think you should be
I agree. As a dual citizen,
if you're wielding that power, then there should be no conflicts. We should know 100%. You're backing Australia. There's no influences, nothing else. It's too much power, and I think if you have that kind of role, that should mean that you give up any other citizenship.
For sure. Well, and in this case, 100%, because I think that she does have a protection that no other Aussie has, and that's so unfair that she's the one who is dictating the rules whilst having a get out of jail free card.
Well, I wanted to add we should deport all the dual citizens. So
yeah,
I am purely just an Australian. I don't have this dual
Bro,
loyalties.
What year did you come on a boat?
What
year did you get here? How old were you, Rukshan?
Doesn't matter.
How old were you, Rukshan?
Huh?
How old were you when you came?
3 or 4.
3 or 4. I was born and bred here. Respect your elders.
And you're still a dual citizen. Give it up,
I've never felt more Australian than that right now.
The funny thing is, I wasn't born a dual citizen. Obviously, I actually signed up for citizenship so I could join the specific Israeli army unit that I wanted to join. So you had to at the time become a citizen to be able to join that unit. But otherwise, yeah, when I was born and bred here. I only took citizenship at 18, and the thing is, like, I think it's fair if I wanted to serve in Parliament, or I think you're right. I think if I wanted to hold, especially a federal position more, because it can impact you because I think the conflict of interest of holding a dual citizenship, that the potential danger is more there. Although, like, the other thing I asked, look, in this case, I think it matters because, and I guess a blanket rule would protect it in general, but in this case, it matters because I think she does have a free pass because she does have an American citizenship. So if things ever got too bad, the things that we're afraid of happening from all of this, if it actually happens and turns out as badly as I think it's going to, well, she can just up and leave and go somewhere where she's protected. So she shouldn't have the power to do that unless she's in the same game as we are. I don't think she should be allowed to, even if she was in the same game. But I'm just arguing that specific thing. But
I don't think like I don't think someone with a dual citizen. I don't think anyone's like. I don't think you're less Australian because you have a dual citizenship. I think just because if you have a role,
I'm
like
definitely
that,
more Australian than Rukshan. He came here at 4.
I think it's a show of good faith to give up that citizenship, and it's a sacrifice to make if you're in a role like that with that kind of power. I think it's so that you can show to everyone, look, I'm entirely committed to this country.
Yeah,
So here's proof of that. But I think it's also it's doubly concerning. I mean, I get it. People don't like the American accent. And that's,
it's so annoying having it. It's so annoying having an American.
There's also on top of that her being a dual citizen with an American accent and referring to us as the Australians and they. And there's the language that she uses that doesn't feel organic to her being, an Australian either.
Yeah, it does. It does feel he is kind of ruling over us almost. Playing the role.
She's colonizing us again, all over again. How's it feel, Rukshan? This time we're being colonized by the Americans. If it's at least going to be an American to colonize it, can't it just be like someone like King Trump, and he declares freedom of speech for all, and the more offensive the speech, the more access you'll have. The algorithm will boost you.
Yeah, 100%.
But I hope to see her in Davos. That'll be
Oh,
I
would love that. Yeah, I would love that. She's got to be up there, top of your list.
She is. There's not many people left really on my list. Although, like this year, I was sort of dreading it because, to be honest, I thought, who is? I've kind of gotten most people that I probably will access. But then, when Trump won, I thought, I don't think there'll be a better place in the world to be on inauguration day, because it is actually. Jan 20 is Trump's inauguration, and that's when WEF this year starts. I just feel like it is content creating, it is question creating.
Yes.
Like how triggered people are going to be. What are they going to say? What is it? Like, are they going to condemn Trump? Just there's so much excitement in me now. I kind of needed it, and I have to do Davos every year because Rukshan calls me the king of Davos, so I had to go. And but this one has actually got a special thing, and one of the people that I really want to get is her for all the reasons that we've discussed, plus the what's his name, Billboard Chris, who I believe is actually going this year.
Wow!
So that should be fun. Especially imagine I bump into her and he's there and I'm doing reuniting all the fans and clans together. Maybe I can broker peace.
Maybe don't give out too much information, man, because as Nathan might be able to tell us, the e-safety office does do some monitoring of Australians, don't they? They do watch social media content online. They follow complaints against them. And I believe they even have files on people. So is there an element?
I'm definitely not going to Davos. I'm definitely not looking for the e-safety commissioner. I'm thinking I might actually shut down my Facebook page. I don't have they kicked me off that. My Twitter, my X, we're going to cut it.
Yeah.
All right. For those of them listening.
You were worried as well, weren't you, at one point, Nathan, that they had a file on you or your family or something like that? If you can talk about that, I don't know if you can or not, but I do remember.
No, it was after I interviewed Billboard Chris and put out a podcast with him. We were talking about him getting his post taken down, and that did the rounds. And I started posting more and more about her. And then my wife just came to me and she's like, "I got this notification on my LinkedIn, and it was that someone from the e-safety office had been searching for her profile, Yeah, she doesn't use LinkedIn, so it was the only notification. And she's a stay-at-home mom, so there's no reason why they'd be looking for her to recruit her. And so all of it was just a bit strange. So yeah, I put out a big complaint against it and did a bunch of FOI requests, but it's still in the process of trying to figure out. But yeah, I mean, we found out that they use this company Meltwater to do social listening reports. So everything you say about the e-safety office, it comes back to them. So yeah, they're definitely listening.
Brookshine, you shouldn't have said any of that stuff. But Daniel says the WEF this year is going to be so good. Unfortunately, I'm definitely not going to be there, so I will have to watch Rookshine. Rookshine, remember that year you came with me? What year was that?
We were the trendsetters. You know, I'd like to.
Was that the first year? No, you came the second one.
No, it was the first year. We went the first time.
Too.
We broke ground at Davos.
We did. And remember, we got Nas Daily the first time.
Yeah, exactly. So I was with you when you did all that first up, because it wasn't really. I don't think it was being done in the fashion that you did it originally. So
no one had done it. Yeah.
No one had done it like that, and now it's a bit more common, and they've kind of realized that's a great place actually to get a chat with some of these.
Yeah, elite. But a lot of people try, and it's not. It's a lot harder than it looks. Like everyone sees, like all like content creators or whatever, the online commentators that do this kind of stuff, especially in America, they all watch it and they're like, "Oh man, I'm going to go there and do that." And the thing is, like, to catch someone, you can be super lucky and just get them.
Yeah,
but it usually is like you're talking about rocking up there real early and ending real late. The one that I went with you happened to be the summer because it was after COVID. But it's a long, tiring day, and then it's like catch them in the moment. You've got to then think the angle and the adrenaline. The adrenaline gets you so hard that your mind.
Every time you question someone, I remember every time you kind of got someone, straight after we kind of finished and walked away from that, you're like, oh, I should have also asked this. I should have also said this.
It's so hard because it's not like, you know, when you're going into an interview with someone and it's pre-planned, you can think about it and work out. And there's no way to really do that in Davos because there's so many people from so many bits. So there's a few people you will think about beforehand, like e-safety, I'll think about. But even as I catch her out the gate, because I've been waiting for her, the excitement just suddenly your performance drops. And just like I even at one point I got that ADL guy and I had him for like 10 minutes because he was literally walking the entire promenade, which is like, and I got him at the side, like he couldn't even run back because I got him at the side that he was staying at his hotel and he had to walk right through and he just had to. And even in that 10 minutes, I didn't like a minute after he'd walked in, I was like, oh my God. Because I got so super focused on the angle that I was taking that I just forgot everything, you know, like I went in with a really like do you know who the ADL is?
Yeah. I don't think I saw that one.
No, do you know who they are, the ADL?
Yeah, I know the ADL.
Yeah, so I went in really, it was last year, it was just after, you know, a few months after October 7, and I went in like hard from a really like Jewish member angle, like, you know, for years you've condemned everyone for anti-Semitism, and now, you know, now you've monetized it, you know, and a lot of Jews were messaging me going, oh man, thanks for actually doing that, like, it's so true. And then suddenly this guy's being elevated as the voice against anti-Semitism. And he's like, no, like, yes, you're right. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. That anti-Semitism is spiking, but you're half the reason. Like you've literally given everybody, like all those conspiracies that are based around Jews are censoring the internet so you can't criticize it. All these, and it's literally all comes back to this ADL. And it's like, mate, you're half the reason why, especially on the right, there was this like explosion of anti-Semitism. And then I totally forgot about his, you know, the fact that, and when I walked away, I thought about it and I'm like, how did I forget that? Like the idea that they were very much pushing and they were aligning themselves with actual Islamists in censoring anyone that was being Islamophobic, like in the era of like 2016 to 2020, just before COVID. Yeah, there was this whole, remember there was this boom. There was a period until 2016, I think, where the internet was the Wild West. Anyone could say whatever they want. You could be as controversial as you want. And like people would blow up overnight by just doing confrontational stuff, and a lot of it became around in that period of time because of ISIS and all, and the terror attacks. It was all based around those issues, and the ADL was a big part of forming sort of interfaith alliances with Islamic groups and social media giants to essentially kick people off, deplatform people that were criticizing, were saying disparaging things against Islam. But like generally, a lot of the people were just talking about terrorism and pointing to what was inspiring these people, questioning. I'm not even talking about there are clearly people that just hate everyone that's different. I'm talking about actual legitimate questions, conversations, criticism, things like that, right? And they ended up deep, like Muhammad Hijab is a great example of one from the kind of group that they were almost working with, maybe not directly with Muhammad Hijab at the time, but with groups that very much Muhammad Hijab is involved in. And they shut down, let's say, people like Tommy. I can't say his last name on because some of the platforms we're actually on now. Who knows if they'll pull us for it, but they had him deplatformed from everything, right? And fast forward to today, or when I saw him, I'm like, well, now you've got those same people that you created that alliance with and joined in to gang up on their critics, deplatform their critics. And then today you got Muhammad Hijab, like, still on YouTube. Even today, I couldn't believe it. I saw it like yesterday or something. He's on YouTube. He's monetized on YouTube, this guy. And he's a full-blown anti-Semite, Islamist, worst of the worst.
And he's on like Piers Morgan, like the biggest platform.
Yeah, exactly. Piers Morgan won't have Tommy, but we'll have him, right?
Yeah.
He's a full-blown Sunni Islamist, right?
Yeah.
He is. And he says stuff on there, like the things that he says on his YouTube channel are way worse than anything Tommy ever said, right? Way worse. Straight up, like, it endorses killing apostates, the way you treat gay people, like, just completely against any community standards, breaches all those community standards 10 times. But now, because you've got this stupid ADL guy, which I didn't get the chance to really, because I didn't think at the time, you got this ADL guy who's been, now, I guess, people look at him and go, oh, wow, he's fighting against anti-Semitism. It's like, no, dude, the guys that were fighting, these Islamists, were fighting these real, or the hate from the left, you deplatformed them all. And then you also gave fodder for people to go, you see, look at the Jews, they shout at everyone now, they deplatform, they're a big part of that. And it's like, so you hit us twice because you got us, you kicked off all our real allies. I'm talking about allies. When you look at somebody like Tommy, he was an ally in the fact that he took on those guys like Muhammad. And he also, like, when people talk about his criminal thing, they often talk about that guy he assaulted at a rally. Who was it that he assaulted? It was a neo-Nazi who wouldn't leave. So he was literally on the front line of fighting actual Nazis, on the front line of fighting actual Islamists. But this Jewish protector of the Jewish community was a big part of kicking him off the internet. And then when they came for us, as they say, there was no one left to defend us.
Well, it looks like you have a lot of things you can ask him actually this time.
I am more than ready, but I think this. I can tell you now. I reckon that guy is staying in the hotel. You know, the hotel behind how there was. So you have the security gate, and then there's obviously the promenade where they have different events, but they're outside of the official WEF things. That's where they walk through. But his hotel was on the end, like the opposite end of the gate.
Yes.
I reckon that guy is going to be staying in the gate, protected, not leaving. He doesn't want no part of Aviamin again. And this year I'm ready. Yeah, I'm really going to bring up that side of it more than anything, I think, with him. Anyways, let's see what else. Let's watch the is it the Michelle but Roland clip? I don't know what it is, but you sent it to me. Should we watch this? Is there anything you want to say before we watch it?
It touches on some of the topics. I think we've already covered a lot of this anyway. But
so by taking this step, it is world leading. It is bold. But we believe that doing nothing here is not an option, because this is about the mental and well-being
this is under 16
stuff. Young people. And it's about saying to big tech that you need to take better responsibility for a product that is, by and large, unsafe for young people.
The bill, once it is implemented, do you think it will keep the children safe online?
I think it'll do two things, Navneet. It will send a really important signal to the community and especially to parents that this is an expectation set by government. So I don't know about you, but with my little ones, a lot of what you hear is around peer pressure. Everyone else is doing it. Everyone else is allowed to have it. Why can't I? This provides what I would call a really important normative message, so that parents can say, well, it's not me, it's the law. But the second point is we're not putting the obligation on young people or their parents. This is about putting the obligation on the platforms, the digital platforms themselves. So no young person, no parent is going to be in trouble for opening or using an account. We're not trying to tell people how to parent. I would never do that to anyone. And as a government, we still have a responsibility, however, to do everything we can to keep young people safe.
What do you make of that?
I just like that idea that somehow the kids are going to be like, oh, we can't do it because, the government says they can't. All it takes is, one kid in the schoolyard to be like, hey, look, this is how you do it. And you think kids are going to be like, whoa, man, no way. It's just going to spread like wildfire as soon as they find a way.
But especially when the government...
Look at all these people, all these government people. They have no clue what the hell they're talking about when they talk about the internet.
But I think she exposes herself, because firstly, she's literally saying that no kid is going to be scared to do it, to open an account, because they're saying they're not going after any kids or parents. And at the same time, she's making it clear we're just trying to target the social media companies. We want control over social media giants. That's what they want. And whilst I'm no massive fan of the big social media platform aside from X these days, but I don't want the government also controlling that. I rather I rather the public sort it out. Look at what happened with X. Let the market work it out. And you could see, like, we had a few bad years. Like, there was this, what we were talking about before, there was the Wild West of the internet. Then they clamped down really hard. And now, with the opening of X and Elon Musk, and especially the fact that he's protected now by the fact that he's part of the US government in whatever way for at least the next 4 years, X is going to be safe. Something I learned from losing millions of followers from censorship is don't rely on one platform, because anything can happen, whether they shut you down or whether the government shuts them down. But now I'm finally feeling a little bit safer with X, at least for the next 4 years, because no government's shutting down X while
no way.
He's part of government, Trump, and hopefully they really lock things in that into the future they can't, but for now they can't. But they the government here really just wants to be able to control big tech.
But it makes no sense, because like Nathan was saying, kids will find a way. And into the vacuum, let's say these social media apps are not used by children anymore because they're banned. Well, children can congregate on another website that's not controlled by any of these social media companies. So kids will always find a way to communicate. They'll end up on sites that maybe don't have any checks and balances.
That's a really good point.
I think that's a big thing, right? You create this kind of black market. So now you've got kids who have then migrated to, these other platforms, and there's no regulation and there's no observation. And then on top of that, the parents have then completely thrown up their hands because they're like, well, there's this ban. That's what the government's done. So, I don't need to keep an eye on this.
Roxanne, I reckon that is actually,
I mean, that's what I would do if I was a kid.
That's the smartest point. I would actually open one.
Exactly. If you're a nefarious character, you would open. If you're a nefarious individual,
even
from
if you're not
overseas,
nefarious,
instance,
there's going to be a market there. Like even if you're legitimate, I think nefarious people will, because it's targeting kids. But
of course,
obviously they're going to go somewhere. They're not just going to give up on the internet. That's just not going to happen.
But that's how Elbow talks. You see, like every speech you gave where he's like, I want kids to go out and touch grass and to play cricket.
Isn't that funny? Because isn't Albo the one
to fly a kite, and it's
didn't Albo get interviewed by those like 15 or 16? What's his name? Leo Puglia or whatever.
From Channel 6.
Are we allowed to make fun of them yet? Are they 18?
I don't know if they're 18 yet. We've got to wait till they're 18, then we can say.
I can't wait till we can Greta Thunberg them. But didn't he go on their channel when they were like under the legal limit that he's trying to implement now? That's kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, there is this disadvantage perhaps for some Australian children who might be talented and find their talent early on social media, because that is kind of the way the world is going as well. And there might be a limitation of some of these types of individuals by denying them access to these type of apps. But it is a balancing act. And like you said, Avi, you saying you prefer if kids aren't there at all, because that causes all types of issues. But that's totally different to what the government's proposing by creating this kind of vacuum and these useless laws almost, that they're saying in this instance. Michelle Rowland, the communications minister, is saying, well, the kids aren't responsible, the parents aren't responsible, no one's going to be held accountable, the social media companies are responsible, but the tools that they're meant to implement, well, we're not really sure exactly how that's going to happen. It's all just up in the air nonsense. So I don't know, really, it seems like a massive waste of time. And it seems like, what with the e-Karen, what she was talking about, it is this kind of backdoor to implement things that are, intentionally perhaps to undermine the whole of society, not just 16-year-olds. So
I love how you just call it e-Karen, because that's what we've done.
I can't even remember her name anymore.
I don't even remember her name. I literally call it e-Karen. Sack e-Karen. I think that's our petition, sackekaren.com.
It actually gives me I'm a little hopeful, because she has so much responsibility on her shoulders. She literally has to keep all of the Australian children safe online and off social media, that I feel like it's inevitable that she's going to fail and that she's going to have to, be accountable for that. So that gives me some hope that she's going to have to fall on her sword, hopefully.
Wishful thinking. She's going to blame everyone else. She's going to blame him.
Yeah, but inevitably, there is no one else to blame. I feel like, because she's just getting so much power.
That's true.
13,374 signatures to sack e-Karen. I don't even. Oh, Julie Inman Grant. That's right. I forgot her name because I'm so used to calling her e-Karen. And there's always somebody who sends me a message going, "I agree, we should sack her, but can you stop calling her Karen?"
Did you know actually?
It comes from a Karen.
No one in Australia. No one in Australia this year. No child that was born in Australia this year was named Karen.
No.
Zero.
Nah.
0 children.
Where did you see that?
I look it up on Google. I saw that 0 children born in
Google.
Australia.
But how do you know it's true?
I don't know if it's true. It doesn't make it true that I saw it on the news, of course, but I'm sure they have a registry for names, and it's coming to the end of the year. So the 0 children were named Karen this year.
I'm going to
look it up.
Fact check you.
Fact check me live on the Opposition
Karen
podcast.
Name. What year?
This year, Australia. Can't believe I'm being fact checked. I feel like Donald Trump now when he's talking on some type of debate, and the lefties start fact checking straight away. Find it? That's the old article.
What year? 14th of July? 19th of July?
I saw this yesterday. We'll find it for the next episode, Avi. I'll find you the exact article.
But wait, it should it not say if there was any e-Karen? Number of babies named Karen born in... Oh, no, because this goes to 2023. Yes, it really dropped.
Bro, no one wants to call their kid Karen. I don't know if it's because of you, Karen, but just in general, why would you want your kid to be named Karen?
You said
And
you
I-
said you
I think
saw
it
it
was.
in
I think it was
last week.
literally there was literally a horror film called Karen. I think, which is about.
Yeah, and I apologize to any Karens who are watching. I apologize. It's a different time and world that we live in.
No,
honestly
don't apologize to Karen.
You don't need to fact check me, Avi.
I
Avi's
want to
very
fact
much.
check you. I don't believe you. You
Why don't
make up so
Why
much
don't we
shit.
actually pivot to the next story, Avi? And on the topic of fact checking, one of our favorite organizations, RMIT Fact Lab, have gone out of business, but only to rename themselves as RMIT
funny.
Lookout. And the funniest thing is, I actually drove past RMIT today here in Melbourne, the headquarters, and they still have the RMIT Fact Lab sign
Exactly.
on their building. But this little underhanded or this kind of rebranding that they've done without really making any announcements has been picked up on. So Nathan, fact checkers during COVID, we saw just how much drama and chaos they created online by essentially silencing people.
And look
and
at
giving-
it. It looks exactly the same. You see that?
Yeah, they're so lazy.
It's literally
And
the exact same thing. Mind you, whoever did this one is a worse designer than you.
That's a Airtasker or a Fiverr job.
That is such a horrible job. And you'd think,
It
like
is.
in the university, they could just get one of the students. Oh, I got a project for you guys.
Well, RMIT is actually a arts-based, like a graphic design-based.
Exactly.
It specializes in those types of
But
things.
I think
look
they're
at
meant to be
this.
binoculars, but they look like two tiny balls and the smallest things.
Yeah, it's saying we've got your balls. We've got you by your balls.
But I don't know if you noticed, Avi, when you actually go to the website now and read through the information, they never used to list the fact that they were getting funding from Meta. But
now they
they're
put it
very,
because of my.
now they're very openly
because
put
of
it.
the
So they've been
lawsuit.
exposed.
That was our
and-
lawsuit. You see, but when you go here, it goes to the. See, even their fact checks. This is an old fact check.
They've
This is
they've
from-
kept all the fact checks.
And it just it goes back to their the fact lab.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. They
It's-
they think we're dumb.
Exactly, and they're trying to make a comeback, Nathan, for the election, and they're going to attempt to, I guess, get stories taken off social media platforms like Facebook, because I know on X they really have no influence. That's the community.
This guy has done an amazing job on it.
Yes.
Jack Horton
Mhm.
from Sky has been so good on it.
So they literally is that their X account? They just changed the name. It's still got all their old.
Well, they've just changed on their on their website as well. They've changed the name. They've opened this new RMIT Lookout, but it's all the same thing. It all links back to Fact Lab because they got destroyed. Like a lot had to do with. So it first started with the lawsuit that I had against them, where the somehow the document of their secret agreement to with Meta was legally allowed to be released, which they weren't too happy about. And so then that was the first thing that kind of rolled into, and then Jack Horton was like a dog with a bone, just kept going at him, and just got him, like destroyed their credibility. They were so screwed. And it was frustrating because when you went on their site and you just looked at it, and it was clear that they were targeting one side. It's like every single fact check. It's on. Are you telling me the left doesn't make stuff up, doesn't twist the truth? Like, yes, there are people on the right that, but it's not equal. The way that they were doing it is absolutely not equal. And what about the government? Like, the government lies so many times. And they were like they were targeting on some of my memory. They'll target things that Peter Dutton was saying about The Voice or something. But they wouldn't do the same for the other side. So it's clearly a bunch of activists in which they're presenting them as journalists, and they're saying like they're going to be the arbiter of the truth. And the problem is that they were also they had the power because they had this secret deal with Meta. which one they were getting paid a lot of money for, but two, like they literally were able to essentially shut down pages, and that's what they did to like our rebel pages. We don't even really we post on there now because it's just been hit so hard from those fact checks that the algorithm just doesn't it punishes you. I think you also, Rukshan, no, you also had that.
Yeah, same. I mean, it was the same story that we
said
covered
it on there on the background. It would say that you.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So
some of the fact checks are so ridiculous that it's clear that they don't care about the truth. Like the whole one with me and the shrine was so ridiculous. Like, why are you fact checking it? They argued that they were fact checking, like the boost in fact checking, and Facebook was saying that they were doing that because of dangerous mis and disinformation about COVID. That was the excuse, and this all relates to like the under 16 stuff because they always have an excuse that sounds reasonable. So they're fighting mis and disinformation for COVID, and then it was with Trump and the election. So then they extended that to mis and disinformation about election fraud because that's a threat to democracy. So why were they fact checking a story in which I pointed out? I literally had because you remember the dean, whatever he is, the CEO of the shrine. Well, firstly, that's the same guy that claimed that lockdown protesters peed on the shrine, and there was zero. Like everybody ran that story, and I was like, "Hold on, there's 1 million cameras on that shrine, and you're telling me you don't have one even off the corner of
there was a photo of the police's horse.
The police horses were pissing everywhere, and they were shitting everywhere, right? Okay, and then after that, there was it was when there was they were doing the
rainbow.
He was going to light it up. He was going to light it up in the trans colors, and then obviously there was the massive backlash. Not only from the public, but also within the veteran community. And I know that because I was talking to a lot of veterans that were like organizing around it from different RSLs. And so then he had to backtrack on his plan to light the sacred place in trans colors. But he couldn't just do it straight and say it was a wrong decision. Instead, he decided to blame it on some random, on threats. And I'm like, all right, so I went down there. You were there that day, Rukshay. That's right, you were there that day. And I went and I literally talked.
Well,
what?
That's why I got fact checked as well because of that same. Yeah.
And then I go there and I literally got the cop that was the head of security there. He goes, no, there wasn't threats. It was some not nice messages or whatever. And then they RMIT fact check us, and their evidence that they did have it, they didn't put any evidence of actual threats. Their evidence was the guy that I was saying is lying again, said he isn't lying. So if you're a journalist, firstly, why are you fact checking that? What's the point?
Yes.
It's not medical misinformation. It's not election fraud. So why? What are you protecting the public from in fact checking that? Secondly, it actually got way more hits once they did do that, because then I made a whole thing and went to court or whatever. And I ended up withdrawing it at the end because you should after getting that agreement, but I ended up withdrawing it at the end because they got some arbitrary rubbish. I can't remember what it was, but you can see the wording of it, totally not a threat, but would be an argument in court and just not worth $100,000, $200,000 in which a judge could go, well, technically that could be understood as a threat. But it was so nothing. There was no we're going to come kill you. We're blowing up the RMIT. It was nothing, right? I get worse threats from my kids. Yeah, you want to talk about real threats? Go through my inboxes. That's some real threats, right? This guy completely made it up. He had to save face. And in journalism, the idea that you speak truth to power, this is the power who's made up a story and at the time refused, even when mainstream journalists, I remember Channel 9 asked him what the threats were, and he says, I'm not going to repeat them. What's the nature of the threats? Wouldn't repeat. So everything pointed to this guy making it up. And so instead, and that's just like a fundamental, like that's a basic story in journalism. My guy in power, the CEO who's paid a lot of money, is making up or is alleging that this is happening without providing any evidence. Police specifically told us they were not investigating anything. You know what I mean? So there was, I had the evidence, I had the receipts, I shared the receipts of the police media saying they're not, there's been no complaints, they're not investigating anything. I had the guy who, you know, the PSO, the head PSO there in charge of security, who knew about the emails, but was saying they're not a threat. And then somehow this lot are fact checking us. For what reason? Nothing. So it became clear that they were an activist unit running out of RMIT with all the legitimacy of RMIT and all the power of social media by being able to ban you both on Instagram and Facebook. And Facebook is a dying thing, but Instagram's still pretty powerful. And Facebook still is powerful, like it's for now.
Yeah, and they've rebranded.
And then they rebrand it and pretend like act like we're all so dumb we're not going to notice that everything.
That reminds me of The Wire. I've seen The Wire, but they're the drug dealers are selling like this terrible heroin. You know,
that was a good show, The Wire.
Yeah, and no one's buying it anymore. So they're like marketing 101. Just call it another name, send it out there. You know, same shitty product.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be on the lookout for RMIT Lookout because they're trying to play it cool now. They've gotten rid of all their staff because once you actually went to the RMIT Fact Lab site and they had all their staff there proudly, and you go to their Twitter accounts and they're all activists and they're all just, you know, spreading nonsense. 100%. So they've gotten rid of all of that now, but we still need to keep an eye on them because I feel like they're still bound to be that same activist organization and nothing has changed.
It'll be funny if they do all the fact checks now with no bylines, like they don't give you the name of who's fact checking.
Oh, but maybe.
And it'd be interesting to see like what kind of review process they're going to like. They're trying to do all these things, I think, to be able to say no, we're not. We've tweaked it and we fixed it, and now it's like legit. We understand what we got wrong, but really, what's the point of it? The point of it is because these activists want to silence the other side. When they say that mis and disinformation is dangerous, what they really mean is people with opposing views are dangerous. You know, the voice got through because too many people had opposing views and it was allowed to be, you know, people's opinions on that was allowed to be spread online. The whole COVID era, you know, these guys are, you know, authoritarian wannabe tyrants. They want to control everything, and they end up eating themselves. Like they eat each other at the end of the day because as soon as, and you've seen that a lot since October 7. To be fair, like the ADL is a great example of it. These guys who have pushed censorship for so many years, or continue to push censorship, and then suddenly they have a different view. You know, if it's a woman, if it's a feminist who's always been a feminist, who pushes all that stuff because she's woke about everything else. And then suddenly it comes to the trans issue and she's like, hold on a second, this is my line. Now you want dudes to come into my change room or into my daughter's change room. Like that's her line. And everybody does have a line at some point, or, you know, or they grow older and then they have certain boundaries. And then it all comes and turns onto them. And they go, oh crap, that's what was happening. And I've seen it since October 7th. I've seen it a lot, like just in my own community, where people who rode me off, who used to like literally publish articles about how evil and dangerous I am, suddenly going, oh, actually, I get it. Because their line was when the entire left turned on them in Australia just because they were Jews. And you're going to see that. And I think it'll be interesting. Well, I think we're going to commit to looking at Lookout.
Yeah, I'm going to be very closely monitoring RMIT Lookout.
Moira, we've seen you've done. What's this compilation, Nathan?
This was after the federal court ruled that Basuto had defamed her.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought I put together this compilation of just showing what he And then the Victorian Liberal leadership had also said all throughout, and pretty much just chronicling the saga up to now, and just how it's completely preposterous that anyone could, say that she shouldn't be let back into the party room.
Let's watch it.
Let's watch it.
Because, or do we just laugh at the news today?
I think we'll watch it first and then laugh.
Okay. You always like to save the laughs.
MP Moira Deeming dumped after she attended a women's rights protest gate-crashed by Nazis.
Moira Deeming has had an association with people who organised the rally, along with her assistants, who have shared platforms with and viewpoints with people who promote Nazi views or sympathies.
Ms Deeming's lawyers say she was bullied and gaslit during a marathon meeting that was secretly recorded.
The 70-minute tape was recorded the day after the Let Them Speak rally in March last year.
Most people in this chamber would know that I'm very, very careful about calling anybody a Nazi.
Group that you associate with, and that group which is Rod's now made, very clear mention that have associations, they've been associated with known Nazis. And the people that you associate with in that video afterwards is highly offensive.
The association between Moira Deeming and the organisers of the rally were that those organisers have shared platforms with fascists, ethno-nationalists, white supremacists and Nazis.
And it goes further to include associates, business associations of associates. The point is, I'm making the point what a nonsense it is.
I've seen the YouTubes of going through with that woman, whatever her name is, and the jokes and the whispers and, the revving up and whatever, all of that. So there is a close association.
And what about Posey Parker's connections with all these people she's had selfies with and photos with, all of these Nazis, white supremacists?
She's done videos with Richard Spencer, Mark Collett, Ku Klux Klan leader David Duke. There's a long...
With a video? I can't find her being involved in a panel or speaking on a platform with any of these characters.
I've never met or spoken to either of those men ever.
The motion that I brought last week was more about the fellow organisers of the rally, Kelly J. Keane and Angie Jones.
What John Pizzuto said about me was demonstrably untrue.
Are you a white supremacist in any way?
Absolutely not.
I've been told there has been a settlement reached with both Angela Jones and Kelly J. Keane.
Pizzuto said, I have never believed or intended to assert that Kelly J. Keane or Angela Jones are neo-Nazis or that they were members of neo-Nazi groups.
This is about Nazi links. And perceived
Are you
links.
accusing me of actual Nazi links?
To the protest. And the people you're working with. This protest at which there were speakers who have known links with neo-Nazis and white supremacists, and I won't have any of it.
As far as my comments may have been misunderstood, as I convey that, I believe this to be the case.
Your mob have stated white supremacist views, and still we're arguing about exactly what they might have meant.
I apologise for any hurt, distress or harm that occurred.
You don't try and weaponise the most horrific term ever, calling people Nazis just because you think you can get a headline.
Mr. Pizzuto was forced to admit Mr. Andrews' words played into the party's panic.
Don't do this when it suits. Don't do this because your polling numbers are bad.
Daniel Andrews makes a statement and immediately the Liberals are thrown into chaos. They're reacting left, right and centre.
You wouldn't move to expel a member of a parliament merely because Mr. Andrews had said something critical of them. Not as a singular fact, but it would be and was a consideration in this particular matter.
And I'm very concerned about where Andrews is going to take it this week. They have been itching for something to clobber me with, and this is it.
And that's what the Labor Party are all about. They're about a headline.
As leader, I will be moving the motion to expel Moira Deeming from the Parliamentary Liberal Party.
And yet, there's nothing here to substantiate that move legally, morally or politically.
Can you assure us that nobody you've worked with has any sympathies or, liaisons with Nazi groups?
Absolutely none that I could possibly know about.
The ousted Liberal MP Moira Deeming has won her high-stakes defamation battle against Victorian opposition leader John Pizzuto.
Moira Deeming was vindicated. All she ever did was stand up for women's rights.
It's a disgrace This is the worst form of parliament that I think we have seen.
Not one Liberal Party value was honoured or furthered in Victoria by this relentless and remorseless campaign to discredit me and everybody who stood by me.
To weaponise Nazism like they have today is the worst of this parliament that I've ever seen.
It will never be acceptable in Victoria for Nazis to get a platform, or anyone who shares their views, or anyone who works with them to help them promote their odious agenda.
We need to apologise to organised chaos. Please give us a trigger warning when a pic of Andrews will be included.
I still get that. Any video I put with Dan Andrews, people are always like, God damn it.
Yeah. He's the most hated. Like, Pseudo's pretty hated, but I think no one's going to beat Dan the man. Wild stuff and more of your good work. It's insane. How do you think it's going to play out now?
Well, so there's the vote tomorrow.
Yep.
With the Victorian Liberals. And I read that it was close, about half, maybe. But it's definitely not a sure thing. So
this is about whether to let her back in.
About whether to readmit her or not, yeah.
They are shooting themselves in the foot.
It's not a
if
good
they
look.
Don't let her back in. But I get it. They're doomed if they do. Like, they can't really win because they are scared of real conservatives in the party, and she's certainly had a massive boost now. The public is certainly behind her, and her being there means they have to get rid of him. They have to get rid of him anyways. And the thing is, they need to get rid of him now, because then you have a chance to win the next election. But if you push this out and drag it on, it's going to keep festering. It's going to get worse. And then it's going to blow up right before an election, and you're probably going to give it to Labor. These are the Victorian Liberal Party is the only group that could lose against Jacinta Allen.
But I think that's the thing. It's that they're polling pretty well. I think even one poll they were ahead. But that in no way is commentary on John Pseudo as a leader. It's entirely on just how terrible.
Exactly. And I've heard that argument. I've heard Liberals make that argument that they have to keep him because they're on top. I'm like, no, mate. He's on top just by default.
Well, this is the thing, right? That full disclosure, I actually work on Moira's staff. This is a video I did just myself, but I work on Moira's staff. And I do that because I genuinely just believe in her. I think she's someone with such morality who was a teacher that got involved with politics because of what she was seeing come into her classrooms. And so she's in it for all the right reasons. And as you saw, I mean, she pretty much committed political suicide to clear her name. No one who was a career politician would have done what she would have done to sue the boss of her political party. It's never been done, and no one's ever survived it.
And that was the whole reasoning that they said that they were kicking her out, because you can't sue your boss. And it just makes no sense to me now that then she's been vindicated. So then the grounds of her suing were justified by definition. So the only recourse that should be happening now is that she's welcomed back in and he's kicked out for literally showing bad leadership through that whole period. How can it play out any other way?
Sam Groth came out after the judgment and said, I cannot serve on the front bench of John Pseudo after this verdict. And Sam Groth came back from his holiday in Fiji last year just to vote her out. He voted her out, but after this judgment, he's like, it's untenable that I can, serve for this guy on the front bench. But
Brad Batten's going to win. She's going to look. I'm predicting. I can't. She has to get in tomorrow. Hopefully,
but she gave this great speech that, and I've been trying to push for her to put it out, because she actually talks about the Liberal Party and talks about her belief in it and what it should represent.
Yeah.
And in this speech, she says, like, we as the Victorian Liberal Party, we shouldn't be trying to Stephen Bradbury this, you know? We shouldn't be trying to just win by default because Labor is so bad. We should be winning on principle because of what we believe
Merit,
in.
what we stand for.
Yeah, and what we believe in. Enough people will follow. And that Pseudo continually, his line the whole time has been, ever as leader, his line is, I represent every single Victorian.
Yeah.
And that's just like, you cannot do that. You can't.
You know what? His most annoying. What's his most annoying saying?
Alternative Premier.
Yeah.
Do you know his other thing as well that I noticed? His other thing that I love making these videos is that he did this thing where every interview he's like, "Look, I've only been opposition leader for 4 weeks," and he's like, "Look, I've only been opposition leader for 6 months." It's like, "Look, I've only been opposition leader for a year and a half. Give me a break." Just keep.
I think Rebel even has, like, we have petitions on every one of these issues. I think we have one on Pseudo. Daniel, write to me in the comments. I can't remember what the URL is for Pseudo must go. Is it? Opposite? Maybe it is. But
it's that they're even considering like not voting.
No, I know. It's just like insanity. It's insanity that he should have resigned the second he lost.
Well, forget the resignation. Whatever. Let's say he doesn't want to resign. Who cares? He was put there by a vote. Whatever. He can stay. But the fact that the other members in that team are like, no, we got to back the leader, and forget the fact that this member in our team, a woman, was defamed with a very significant slur that had to go to a federal court where the judge, like you're showing the judgment now, found in favor of her on almost all counts. I think everything, and we still have to vote her out because of some weird Liberal Party code about not challenging the leader. Well, sometimes you have to challenge a leader, and that's a part of every workplace. Those things happen. And I thought that's the kind of society we live in. But according to John Pseudo, none of those things matter in his Liberal Party. So that's I think that they're sending the wrong message overall. And the legitimacy of his leadership, his ethics, his moral code when it comes to these type of issues, when he talks about other issues, he loses all of that because he's been unable to apologize. He's been unable to own up to his mistakes. And frankly, even I've said this before as well, as a man, he's been unable to come to terms with what he has done wrong, even though he, in a snake oil salesman way, says, "Oh, I accept what the federal court has said." That's his line. That's his go-to. I respect it. I'm disappointed, but I respect what they have said. So either he really doesn't like women, and this is just how he kind of treats women in general and how he views them, as an opinion based on the way he's behaving, or he truly believes the rest of the party, the other members in there, are on his side, are just like him, and they're not going to let her back in. It's got to be one of these two things, because otherwise, the whole situation is just ridiculous.
It'll be interesting how it plays out tomorrow. But for today, what was it? The hit he had. So there was in court today. He had, what was it? It's the cost order is far worse than initial. So in the judges further, so Justice O'Callaghan put the damages for non-economic loss and misdeeming at $300,000 when making his ruling last week, and the judge's further orders on Thursday, that's today. The revised total figure was released, along with orders Mr. Pseudo must pay Ms. Deeming's legal costs on an ordinary basis up to 11 a.m. February 12 this year, and after that on an indemnity basis. He asked Ms. Deeming's legal counsel, led by the nation's top defamation barrister. She was a gun. She was entertaining to watch. And I'm somebody, I've watched so many defamation cases, and she is masterful. Lawyers for Mr. Pseudo will have to 14 to respond to the cost being sought. But what was it that they said? But there was something in today's order that upped the costs by a lot for him. I'm not seeing it here. I think it actually was even in the heading of that. Another blow as court finalised Daniel. Just when Liberal leader thought things couldn't get any worse, losing the defamation battle, Moira Deeming, the court has revised the amount. Oh, it's just a higher amount of damages or something.
Yeah, saying could be up to $2 million.
Well, yeah, they're saying that's with the costs. So the damages, I don't know, it was 300. I don't think it's that, but I think what they reported today is that he's revising the way the cost order is going to be evaluated, where it's generally like 60 to 70%, where this is going to be like 80 to 90% or something like that. Which good. He deserves. I hope he goes bankrupt from this.
Well,
Like
he can. You can thank Jeff Kennett and
Yeah,
no,
we can thank him now because they lost their money on that, and now he's gonna, like, unless they're willing to pay for it, he's gonna have to sell a property or something.
I mean, they paid for everything up to this point. I wouldn't be surprised. It's all been a bit dodgy. Even that settlement with Kelly J. Keane and Angela
paying up to this point. Paying up to this point is one thing, because how much were his costs? Let's say his costs are 500. Like, maybe it's more. Maybe $1 million is his cost. Fine. Hers are like, they're saying the part that he's going to have to pay of hers is like $2 million. And they clearly did a lot more work. her team did a lot more work. But that's what I'm saying to you. Like, it's 3 damages. So you're looking at like up to about $2.5 million. That's a lot of money. That's not like hundreds of. That's a lot of money. Does Jeff Kennett even have that to throw at it now? Like, really? I hope he leaves him hanging. I hope there was no agreement. Like, well, I doubt it. I doubt there was an agreement there. I think Pseudo was confident, deluded. Because if he wasn't confident, yeah, we're talking about multi-millions. Daniel says, I think he thought he was going to win. Because if he didn't, he would have settled earlier. And if he would have settled earlier, he would have been able to save face and pretend like he's the bigger man. He's settling, not because he thinks he's wrong, and he could have worded it. It's just that in the public interest, I'm settling. You know,
but if he thought that he was going to win that case, I don't think there is no chance he would make a good premier for Victoria. We're screwed.
If he thought what?
If he actually thought he was going to win,
he had to have thought he was going to win.
I think his judgment is all over the place. Like, that was very razor thin towards him winning, in my opinion.
But that just shows.
He refused to even sit at the table.
I know, and that's what people were saying. People were saying that he that basically she refused. Like, that's the only way. He was forced to take it to court because she was. But it turns out that he wouldn't even come to the table to talk. He was that arrogant and that cocky about it.
I think people need to remember that she was suspended first. So she was suspended for 9 months, and they pretty much gagged her. But he lied about what the agreement was, and she also said that the condition was that he would clear her of all the claims.
Yeah, and he didn't do it. Yeah,
in any way associated with the Nazism, and he said, "I never said that." So that's partly why it came, because she was just like, "I'm not. There's no way that I'm going to live with this.
Yeah,
with my kids."
It was really an interesting case to listen to, especially the cross examination. Me and Rukshan, we were in Bali at the time. We talked about this a few times on this show because our wives were not very happy with us sitting in the pools. I'm
really feeling for you. Well, your wives have the patience of saints.
We were sitting there, and I was telling like Rukshan, I was trying to force Long Island iced teas into Rukshan. I was like drinking. How many did I would probably sit there and drink 3 while you had half. You really let us down, Rukshan.
I'm more of a gin and tonic person, but I can't do the Long Islands.
Yeah,
the Long Islands have every spirit in them.
Yeah. Nowadays, I'd be a bit nervous. Like, I'm a bit nervous now in Bali to have Long Island. It probably has a bit of methanol in there.
Yeah, exactly. Better be careful these days.
But hey, it'll get you drunk. All right, let's go. Let's just quickly finish these ones that we had. New crime data. shows children offending highest rate since 2009. What do you reckon?
Oh, look, I mean, I heard when I was listening to this and they did an interview about this on 3W, they were saying one offender who was underage, whatever, had committed like 32 separate offenses, and each time they're ending up on back in the public and recommitting offenses. And we're seeing this massive crime wave in Victoria, like kids with machetes rocking up, vandalism, burglaries. It doesn't matter which suburb you're in, so they're hitting up the affluent suburbs as well. So this crime is kind of out of control, and you have kids just committing crimes back on the street, committing crimes again. There seems to be no, the magistrates just let them go. The police appear to be doing their job, but what's the point? Because they're just ending back on the street. So it seems like a massive waste when the real solution might actually be, in my opinion, is just to lock these kids up. And not bail them or make the bail conditions very strict because it's out of control now.
Yeah,
it's the worst.
Well, I think this has been a problem growing for years. Like, to be honest, even when
I think this has been
what?
I think it's the worst it's ever been.
Yeah. Well,
I thought it was ironic that more kids are committing more crimes than ever, at the same time that they think making it illegal to use social media will do anything.
Yeah. And they want to, and they want to lower the voting age.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's wild. The world has gone nuts. Wollongong is the worst crime city. I don't know.
Okay.
Wollongong. All right, what's this one, Rukshan? You just sent me some random. Should we watch this?
This is the story I've been following for a little bit, but this is before we watch it. You would have seen the CEO that was murdered in the US, the healthcare CEO, and the left wing within America has taken it to the next level by, of course, celebrating the death of the CEO because, of course, we don't like CEOs anymore. But they've gone ahead and started fundraisers for the killer who has now been charged with murder. They've started a fundraiser for him. They're idolizing him. They're putting him up in videos, music videos, in clubs. And they're kind of adoring him as this hero, and also at the same time making new lists to kill people, kill CEOs. I know one of their targets recently, just today, I was seeing on Reddit, they were talking about targeting Elon Musk. So there is this growing thing in the US, at least, very openly now, targeting rich people or however they view the world. It's become a legitimate reason.
Middle-aged white rich men. That is their target. I bet you it wouldn't be the same if it was a person of color or a woman.
Yeah. But play this video though. This is interesting with Chris Coomer. He interviews one of these individuals that are raising money.
Honestly, this guy should run for president if he ever gets out of jail. He literally stood in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shot someone in broad daylight, and everybody loves him, not despite of, but because of that. Yeah. And I think that is a beautiful thing.
Good point by Benjamin.
You're raising money for this guy's legal defense. If that isn't supporting what he did, I don't know what would be. And again, as somebody who says what my interest is in seeing people treated humanely, you're raising money for exactly the opposite. I don't get the hypocrisy.
Well, I think everybody is entitled to a fair trial, including Luigi Mangione. And as we know,
he doesn't need your money.
Access to a fair trial is actually quite tiered based on how many resources a person has access to. What?
He's got access. You see who his lawyer is? She ain't working pro bono, I promise you that.
Yeah, well, we have not heard yet as to whether or not Luigi is going to accept these funds. If he doesn't need them for whatever reason, they're going to be distributed to other people who are facing political charges. But I think in this
why
country,
don't you distribute
money is
the
a
money?
form of speech.
Oh, no, listen, I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm not saying you can't do it, Jamie. I'm saying, why would you do it? You have the right to do it. I'm saying, why is it right? Why don't you take the money and give it to people who've gotten screwed by insurance companies?
I think I need to refocus once again onto the murder and the violence inherent in this system that so many people all across the political spectrum, across lines of political difference, conservatives, liberals, Democrats, and Republicans are all excited and energized to talk about this and to have this conversation.
Raise money for the action groups that go after the insurance companies. I'm with you. This is not about the insurance companies. That's my problem, Jamie. I had you on not for sport. I want you to understand that I don't think that the energy that you're putting towards backing this guy is getting us to a better place with the problems of the system. That's my point to you. Use the money you raised for the people.
It's a very interesting thing that's happening. I honestly believe it's a very interesting thing and a sign of what's to come over the next 4 years.
Scary.
Yeah, while Trump's in power, I truly believe, like, you know, the next time we have another George Floyd style thing that happens in the US, you're going to have more of these kind of people out there thinking it's okay to fight back by murdering people. And she was saying it's a political charge. And this guy literally went out in broad daylight and shot someone. How is that a political charge?
Also, you've got there's always been these whack jobs, you know, like fans of serial killers, of like Ted Bundy and things like that. You know, that's a factor because the guy's good looking. I think
that he is apparently being described as very hot.
Yeah, so there's that element to it where there's always these weirdos and these creeps. But
he's
if you think the system's broken, why don't you actually actively do something to fix it? Or just directly try and help the people that have been impacted. The idea of trying to fundraise for this guy's legal case.
He's a straight up murderer, like an alleged murderer. The world saw what he did. It is wild.
And on the same spec, on the other side of that, in New York as well, we had that Daniel Penny guy who actually stepped on a train to save the public. Yeah. And the same individuals, he was actually being a hero, but these same individuals wanted to see him locked up for life or even killed for doing that.
Or Rittenhouse, you know, who literally shot a
you're right. You're right. Rittenhouse, but not like the Daniel guy's even more of a contrast to that story because he was and he's a veteran.
If you look at him at good looking, he's also good looking.
He's a hero that stepped in to protect other people. He was unarmed, and they vilified and wanted him to. They wanted to kill. They would have wanted to give him capital punishment, but this guy that in broad daylight walked up to somebody unarmed, shot him, killed him. They're celebrating because they call that a political. Like they're acting like he's being politically persecuted.
Yeah.
Like because these days you should be allowed to murder people that you think are political opponents, and that's it. Like that explains it. It's wild. All this craziness, Rukshan. What are you doing? Why are you bringing me this crazy stuff?
No, I think it's just to show people. I think America's a bit ahead of Australia in terms of the left wing.
We follow everything they do, though.
We follow it. It's kind of seeping into Australia as well a little bit in the way that people are talking, and we're seeing a little bit of that. Where let's talk about this current issue that we have with the Israel-Gaza conflict and the protests we have in Australia and stuff. And you have these left wing individuals who have become more militant, who have become more violent in the manner that they seek to get their message across. So, you know, those things come into our societies very slowly, and then it ends up being like this, where it's like, hey, we killed the CEO. It's a political act of, self-defense against, a healthcare system. So it's okay. We celebrate that, and we want to fundraise for him. I mean, that's the end goal of this. I mean, they are so far ahead in terms of where we are right now in Australia, but we could actually get there as well. So I think it's important to highlight how these all are interconnected. And if you're looking at the views of these particular individuals on the left in America, and when you hear them talk about other issues, you have to understand that these are people who think it's okay to murder a CEO because they don't agree with the politics around healthcare. So that's the reason
you're absolutely right. Like it's unavoidable to see the conversations around cost of living, property crisis, all of these things. Young people are completely disillusioned. You know, capitalism has never got a worse rap than right about now because it's so hard for young people to accrue any capital. So why would they believe in it? So of course they're going to start to, you know, take their anger out. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like we used to look at, you know, these tycoons like Henry Ford and these CEOs and say that that's who you want to be because they contribute so much to the economy and employment, and you know. But instead now they're the easy targets, and it's much easier to make a name for yourself by just going and shooting someone than instead of actually putting in hard work to legitimately contribute back to society.
Exactly.
Well, before we just move over to the opposite, we're going to move on to the opposition.show for a few minutes for people that are Rebel News Plus members. So, guys, you have a few minutes now to move over to the opposition.show before we close it on all the other platforms. And then that's the place where you can call in, talk shit about Rukshan, try to debate him. He'll lose every debate. You can try to debate me, but you'll just lose. So why bother? We'll be there for a few minutes. So the opposition.show, if you're a member, just click the button below and you'll go into a waiting room. Hopefully we get a couple people today. We had a good one last week. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, it was good.
A short clip came out after. But before we jump over there, I want to open the present I got from Benji. That you didn't get. And while I'm opening it, Nathan, just remind us where people can find you.
Yeah, X at the MilkBarTV.
You're just on X? That's it?
Pretty much. I mean, Facebook I've been on for years. Instagrams, you know, I don't know. Is it worth being on anything else, really?
Yeah, because if like I said to you, put all your eggs in one basket, then if something
I'm screwed. I'm screwed. If X goes, I'm screwed anyway. There's nothing.
You got Rumble at least. Rumble, you'll be all right.
But YouTube, just put it on. Worst comes to worst, what are they going to do? Kick you off it?
I do every now and again.
All right, what do we got?
Is it any good?
I don't know. I haven't drunk it yet, mate. There we go. Can we see that?
Yeah.
Does anyone know if it's good? It looks. So where's it from? In Ireland. Iceland. I can't remember. Iceland. Handcrafted in Iceland. Small batch vodka.
I think they like you in
I
Ireland.
have to look up how much this is. That's Benji. That's above my budget. I didn't want to spend that much. Who wants to chip in to buy Benji a present? Why is no one answering? Thank you, Benji. I can't wait to drink it. I'll probably be done by next week. With the stress levels Rukshan gives me. Well, this is actually our last episode before Christmas, so Merry Christmas to everyone.
That's right.
Thanks for tuning in tonight. So we'll be back next week. We're going now to the opposition.show. We'll close all the main channels in a second. Any parting words? So Merry Christmas to everyone, and next week we'll be back on. We'll do Boxing Day. Why not?
We can do Boxing Day. Again, guys, Merry Christmas. Hope you all have a wonderful Christmas time. I don't want to say the holiday season or whatever. Merry Christmas. We can say that now. We could have always said that, but we can definitely say it now. But yeah, you can also check us out, Avi. You got your shows on Tuesday. Are you doing that? Avi Yemeni Report, 7 p.m.
Yes,
you doing that next
on Tuesday. That's look, somebody's got to pick up because you've been doing like this crap show. I watched it the other night and I was just trolling the comments.
I know, Rukshan on X, guys. You can catch me as well and follow me at The Real Rukshan on X, Facebook, Odyssey, Rumble, and somewhere else. I'm somewhere else as well. I can't remember now, but I'm everywhere.
Is that the OnlyFans you opened?
The OnlyFans at The Real Rukshan. The more you pay, the less I post on OnlyFans. So remember.
Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. This year actually is quite interesting because Hanukkah starts on Christmas.
Wow.
And ends on New Year's. So literally, this is when I become a really good Jew. I get drunk from Christmas to New Year's. You won't be seeing any videos I post in that period is going to be interesting. That's all I can say.
Well, like normally how it is. So same.
Guys, we're going to move over the opposition.show. We'll just chat for a couple minutes there, guys, and we can really hang shit on Rukshan. Join us there. All right, I'm going to start closing these main ones. you guys can keep chatting.
Yeah. So
away.
Nathan, so with the way that you do your editing for your videos, so are you kind of always obviously keeping an eye on the news as it's happening, but do you have like ongoing projects as well? Because it would take a bit of time